but there's an underlying message. It's not about making it to the NFL. It's about understanding first you have value, that you matter, that you're important, and two, you have to have a vision for something or a goal, something that you're striving towards, and then putting yourself in the right environment that can help you support that goal. But at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. It is on you.
Well, welcome to another exciting episode of the Generation Youth Podcast. I am James McLamb, the host of the show. I'm here with a very new friend of mine that I got to meet. Well, we'll discuss that in a moment. Fendi, how are you doing today, Fendi?
I'm doing well. My name is Fendi Onobun out here in Houston, Texas, and it is a pleasure to be on your podcast, James. I'm glad we finally had the opportunity to connect after we met.
We did. We met at a John Gordon Day of Development event
Absolutely.
in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I happen to be sitting next to a table full of educators from county, which ironically, Fendi, I did a workshop for that county and got to see that entire table again last week at their schools. Yeah.
Good
and
deal.
They're going back to another John Gordon event pretty soon. And I saw you talking to them about speaking, and I was like, okay, what's the deal here? And our mutual friend Thomas Williams, who's been a guest on this show, said you need to go follow that guy out the door right now and get him on your show right now. Don't stand here and talk to me, James. Go. And so I ran out the door and chased you down the street.
Yeah, we were talking on the street. I was like, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, you chased me. You literally did chase me down the street, but I'm glad we got the chance to connect, man. And Thomas is a great friend of mine, and so I'm glad you followed that assignment.
Well, I trust people. I trust people who we have on the show. So our audience would love to hear a little bit more about your story from you. So if you don't mind, take a couple of minutes and share your story with our audience and introduce yourself to them.
Yeah, so my name is Fendi Onobun, born and raised here in Houston, Texas. I'm probably most known for being a former professional NFL player, but grew up here in the city of Houston and experienced some adversity in my childhood. I was kidnapped by my biological mother at the age of 7, was put through the CPS system, experienced homelessness, and was able to get reunited with my father after the custody battles. My dad got full custody of me, and when I was about 7 or 8, that's where things began to change in my life, and he got me involved in sports. And sports is kind of what gave me the vision and the path to stay on track. And I grew up a basketball player, playing basketball. Went to University of Arizona on a full ride basketball scholarship. Was there in Tucson for 4 years. But the interesting part of my story is I used my 5th year of eligibility and transferred to the University of Houston and played football. And it was the first year I'd ever played football. And
wait, say that again. Now there's somebody freaking out there.
Yeah. I grew up a basketball player. Was at the University of Arizona on a full ride basketball scholarship. And when I graduated from Arizona, I was able to use my 5th year of eligibility. And I took a risk and came back home to Houston and walked on the football team and played 1 year of Division I collegiate football and was drafted into the NFL the following year after one year of competitive football. And so that's probably one of the most interesting parts of my story. And I had a 5-year career in the NFL, played with the St. Louis Rams, now they're the LA Rams. But back then when I was drafted, it was the St. Louis Rams. I spent some time there, spent some time with the Chicago Bears, and then also the Jacksonville Jaguars. And my career ended in 2015. Had a career-ending injury, ruptured my quadriceps tendon, and so really just trying to figure out my purpose and where I could add value and who I was outside of sports. And it took a long time, but something that was always fundamentally sound about me was I was always a person who wanted to encourage people, who wanted to pour into people, and so tried a few different things. But really, eventually, as of now, I got into speaking and working with the youth, and really just pouring into kids and programs, helping them basically talk about things that I've experienced in my life, and giving them the tools and resources to become more productive members of society. And so that's what I do today, man. I work with the youth. I work with different schools, different programs, talk about my core principles and just things from my personal experience that has taught me and shaped me into the man that I am today.
Well, let's just land right there on your shirt. If you're watching on YouTube, you see this, but if you're listening, he has on a shirt that says core principles on it. And you said that. So let's just jump right there. What is the core principles that you speak to youth about? Because we're all about trying to empower and elevate youth to be their best selves. And we love it when folks can provide them with something that sticks with them, something that resonates with them, and they can absorb it and remember it and integrate it in their life. And this sounds like something that may be. So share it some with our youth, our audience.
Yeah. So really, when I think about core principles, so this came from just my athletic background, being an athlete, playing basketball, playing football, and just the rigorous training that entails uh, the game. One thing our strength coaches and our, would always talk about is like the importance of the core, how strong your core needs to be. If you have a solid core, you can, stay away from injuries. If you have a solid core, that can help you become a more explosive athlete, a faster athlete, a more balanced athlete. Everything is centered around the core, hence the name core. And so that was just something that was always instilled into me. And so when I was, trying to figure out something that I could do to really impact our youth and really impact schools, I wanted to kind of use my experience and things that I've learned when creating something that can be tangible for students. And so I thought about the core. I thought about the most inner center part of our bodies, uh, the strongest part of our bodies, and just taking that same concept, but now from, taking it from an athletic standpoint into a character development or a social emotional learning, decision making standpoint. The core of your being, who are you at the core? And so it's an acronym. The C stands for character, being a person of character, being a person of integrity and honesty, doing the things you say you would do, being a person who not only represents himself a certain way in front of a group of people, but you are who you say you are. The O stands for taking ownership. A lot of times, the blame game, right? They blame others for situations, they blame others for circumstances that they experience. And although there are some circumstances where it may be a situation that's outside of our control, I'm a firm believer in taking responsibility for your own actions and first taking ownership so that you can learn from the mistakes that you've made and then make the adjustments. So that's what the O is, taking ownership. R is for respect. Not only respecting, authoritative figures and adults and things of that nature, but respecting yourself. The way that you dress, the way that you present yourself. I often say that, treat people the way that you want to be treated. And so that's what the R stands for, respect. And then the E, which is probably my favorite, is stands for environment. Putting yourself in an environment for success. I always tell the kids, you are who you hang around. And it's really, really important that you just put yourself in an environment where you can experience success. If you're hanging with troublemakers, if you're hanging with people who are doing bad things, more than likely you will also be that person doing bad things and making those decisions. But in my life, I've been able to experience success because of the people that I've been surrounded by, and so
Exactly.
that's the core. That's the core, man. And I speak on that, and that's what I talk about. And I kind of weave my story in with those principles to let the kids know, hey, it's not about making it to the NFL. It's not about becoming a professional athlete. It's more so about who you are at the core of your being. And these are necessary tools that you need in order to achieve any level of success when it comes to your life.
Let's land on the one that you said was your favorite, the environment. Because when you said that and you started sharing about it, all these quotes started coming to mind that I've heard. The late Jim Rome saying that you are the not Rome for those for those who are listening, uh, not the sports person, but the speaker said that you are the sum total of the five closest people
Most
that you
people
hang
next
around.
to, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Zig Ziglar used to jokingly say, you can't be an eagle if you hang around with turkeys. You're gonna end up being a turkey yourself.
Yep.
And that's the essence of it. So how what are we telling youth to help them do this? Because I know a lot of kids who I sit around and saying, "Hey, you got to get rid of those friends," and they're like, "I can't get rid of these. These are my buds. These are my guys." How are we going to help them see that they need to make some of these choices in life?
Well, what I tell the kids is you have to have a vision for yourself. And I know that that can be sometimes challenging, especially when you're talking to like middle schoolers and even high schoolers. But I
Or even
think,
college age.
yeah, even students in college and in universities. But I think the first thing is you have to have some type of vision for yourself. It doesn't have to be a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. It could just be, hey, I want to make an A on this test, right? This test that I have in 2 weeks, I want to make an A on this test. And if I'm struggling in the classroom, what environment do I need to put myself in so that I can have success on this test? Maybe there's some other students who are performing well in the class. Maybe there's some other students who understand the material a little bit better than you. Are you putting yourselves in the environment of the students that are performing well, that understand the material? Are you putting yourself in an environment where you can get some extra time with the teacher so that you can perform well and get the good grade on the test? It could be something as simple as that. And I just think that sometimes we don't have control over our environments. I grew up in an eco disadvantaged environment where there just wasn't a lot of examples and a lot of people that were experiencing success. But luckily, I was gifted with an ability to play basketball, and that was able to put me in different environments and be around different people and have different experiences to see what the world had to offer outside of my community. And I'm a big believer that God will make room for you with your gifts. And even when it comes to your environment and people that you associate yourself with, if you don't have a vision or a plan, or you don't understand that you have value, that you matter, that you are important, and that your life is extremely valuable, then it's tough to even see that. And so before we even talk about environment, I want the kids to know that they need to have a vision. They need to have a plan. When I was a kid, I would put posters and pictures up on my wall of basketball players that I emulated, or basketball players that I enjoyed watching, because I wanted to be like them. I was a kid. I wanted to, put myself in a position to one day, play professional basketball. That's what gave me the plan and the track to go practice and to go play and to go watch games and all those things. And again, it's not about becoming a professional athlete. Whatever vision you have for yourself will at least give you some type of idea of, okay, who do I need to be hanging around? What environments do I need to be in? Who do I need to be talking to get to where I want to get to?
How do we help them develop? And this is going back to the C part of to develop the character traits that they need to be able to say no to those turkeys that they're hanging around with, those people who are bringing them down. Because Vinny, I'm going to tell you, when we were talking about this, I'm like, I'm all in with this, but I was working with a young man recently who his friends are not helping him get anywhere. And he has so much potential and so much to offer. It's everything, but it's not that they are leading him to a dark place. They're just not helping him elevate his life at all. They're just kind of stagnant in what they're doing. So how do we help them get those character skills so they can find that vision? That's just a tough thing.
It's like, I think about, so I say this sometimes, when you think about the basket of oranges, right? And you get a basket of oranges. You just got it from the grocery store, and you think you got a fresh batch of oranges, but there's one of those oranges that might have some white fuzz or some green fuzz. And even though all the other oranges are fine, that one orange is going to affect the other 5 or 6 oranges that are in that basket. Why? Because it's moldy, it spreads and it's infected, and it's just a matter of time. And so sometimes it's hard to really recognize. It takes an extreme, mature amount of discipline to recognize, hey, my friends are not having the same conversations I'm having. My friends are not thinking about the same things that I'm thinking. And this is tough to let your friends go. But I tell the kids, I said, hey, look, it's your dream. It's your responsibility. No one is coming to save you. And if you have something that you want to accomplish, you have to make the decision to make the change, right? Like, it's insane to expect something different or expect a different outcome and you continue to do the same things. And that's where the O comes in. It's ownership. You have to take ownership. I can't do it for you. Your teacher can't do it for you. Your mommy and daddy can't do it for you. Yes, we can give you the information. We can encourage you. We can motivate you. We can give you all the things we want to give you. But at the end of the day, it's on you to make the decision to make that change. Say, you know what? This friendship, this person, this guy, this girl is not helping me go to where I want to go in life. And I'm going to have to break the relationship if I want to continue to go the direction that I want to go in.
Well, I want to hear how these core principles got you to the NFL, especially considering that all the things that you talked about, was I think your goal was probably at one point, or your vision was to be an NBA player. I want to hear about this because this is fascinating to me. How you played for 4 years. I got a 5th year. I'm going to go a whole different track.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great question, James. So when I do the school assemblies, this is the story that I share. And I'll give you a shortened version for time purposes.
But and also, we want to tease them so that whomever is listening will come and hire you to go to their school and speak and tell you the whole story.
Come on. So when I was at Arizona, really trying to figure out what my next steps were, it was at the end of my collegiate career. And, the NBA was not just, it just wasn't a realistic option. I did have some opportunity to play professionally overseas. But I had some friends say, hey, have you ever thought about playing football? Have you, like, I mean, look at you, you're 6'6", 250 pounds. Like, you're a beast out there. There's a lot of guys that, your size that are on the football field. And I had never played. I never thought about it. It wasn't even a concern of mine. I wanted to go play pro basketball. But there was a scout from the Atlanta Falcons that came to our school. And I went to University of Arizona. And so Rob Gronkowski was at the University of Arizona. He was our starting tight end. And they were coming there to check him out. And I happened to be in the weight room working out. And the scout saw me and started, inquiring to our football strength coach about me. So the football strength coach called me over and said, hey, man, we got a scout here with the Falcons. He just wants to talk to you for a little bit. And he just asked me if I ever thought about playing football. And it was crazy because it was the same week that my buddies had mentioned the same thing. And so I told him no. And he said, hey, look, I don't know what your plans are, but I think you should consider it. And so the tables turn. It's one thing when your friends tell you, but then when you have an NFL scout tell you the same thing, I changed my tune a little bit. And so I told, after it was a wrestle. I mean, because it's like I'm letting go of my first love. I wanted to go play basketball. Like, am I giving up? It was just this. I was like this wrestling with God and like, hey, is this the direction you want me to go? Is this what you have for me? And so after some time, I finally made the decision that I was going to give football a go. But the first part was the character piece where I told the scout when I made the decision that I was going to do it, I wanted to be a man of my word. When I told him, okay, I'm all in, I'm going to do this and it's a gamble. It's no guarantee. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to give it a go. And I wanted to stand on my word. The young people call it standing on business. And I wanted to stand on business. If I told the scout that I was going to put myself in a position to try to make it to the NFL and take the necessary steps, that's what I was going to do. And I related to the students like, hey, if you tell your teacher you're going to do better in class and you're going to do a better job of following instructions and listening and doing your homework, do what you say you're going to do, right? Don't go into class and tell the teacher you're going to do a better job in class and participate more and do your assignments and make sure you're doing better on your tests and quizzes. And then you're not doing that, right? That's the character piece. That's how you develop character. That's how you build character. That's how you build trust and you become a person of integrity. And so I told the scout, I said, I'm going to do it. And so that's exactly what I did. And just moving right along through the core principles, taking ownership, understanding that, hey, I'm trying to play a sport that I've never played before. I'm not going to
You
be the
had
best.
never played this
Never
before.
played. Well, let me take that back. I played in seventh grade. So in the state of
Okay,
Texas,
you've never played before. I mean, that was
yeah, I mean, in the state of Texas, the first year you can play sports competitively in Texas in the seventh grade. So just as an excited kid, I did basketball,
I figured the
football, and
first
track.
time you could play competitive football in Texas was when you're like 2 months old. I mean, I figured that
Well,
was just
Texas is like, well, competitively to compete against other schools. You can play like pee wee football and things of
yeah.
that nature, but I didn't even think about that. It was all basketball for me. So I played in seventh grade. I was out there running around in pads and a helmet, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I did all three sports. Did basketball, football, and track. But that was honestly my first year and my last year. And I was just all basketball. I was highly recruited as a basketball player by high level D1 schools, North Carolina, Duke, Arizona, UCLA. Like these are the schools that were recruiting me in high
The
school.
Blue
And so
Bloods, yeah.
yeah, football wasn't even a thought. But when I made the decision to play football, I had to learn to take ownership that I wasn't going to be the best player on the field, that this was going to be a process, that I was going to have some ups and downs and some ebbs and flows and some trials and errors. And if I would have went into that situation blaming the coach, blaming the sport, blaming the teammates, that they're the reason why I'm not having success or why I'm having a hard time, that further perpetuates the opportunity to learn the game and become better and have people on my side to help me get to where I was trying to go. So once I understood I could take ownership in that, hey, this is going to take some time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. You need to learn the game. You have to put forth the effort, watch the film, study the game, practice, more practice. Once I took ownership in that, things began to change for me, and I understood that it was a process. The R is respect. Respecting the game and respecting the people in your circle that are available to help you. And it kind of goes in line with taking ownership. Learning that there is a pecking order, learning that there is some time that you have to put in, and just respecting the game. and respecting the coaches and respecting the players. And that, when you have that type of posture that, hey, like, I'm just here to learn and I want to become the best football player I can possibly be, somehow, some way, that energy comes back to you tenfold. And I think in the same way as with students, you're respecting your teachers, you're respecting yourself, you're a direct reflection of the energy that you give. And if you can be respectful to your peers, if you can be respectful to your teachers will respect you. But if you treat them with disrespect, more than often, more likely you will be met with also disrespect. And so, on my process, understanding that, I want to make sure I showed honor and respect to my teammates. I was grateful that they were willing to help me and willing to teach me the game so that I can get to where I was trying to go to. And then last but not least, the environment. I can't make the NFL on a basketball team. I can't make the NFL on a baseball team. I had to leave the sport of basketball, put myself on a football team, and ingrain myself in the environment of a football player on a football team to get to eventually where I was trying to go, which was the National Football League. I mean, that was a huge plus for me because, as I mentioned, I had the opportunity to do it the year before, but I wasn't on a football team. It wasn't until the scout said, hey, if you really want to do this, I would use your fifth year of eligibility, walk onto a football team, get some film, learn the game, have a year of football under your belt, and try this again a year later and see where you end up. You'll be in a much better position. And he was right. And that was because I was able to change my environment.
What did the coaches at Houston think when this basketball player come over there and said, "Hey, I'd like to walk on. I'd like to get. Can you give me a shot?" I mean, what was?
Man, you know what? It was really interesting because I had reached out to several schools,
Mm-hmm.
several schools. I didn't have any film. So I had put together a YouTube video of just me running around because I was in Tucson. I was running around on this dirt field trying to emulate the route tree of a tight end. And if you wanna go live, go check out Fendi Onobun YouTube workout because it was awful. But that was all I had. And looking back at it, I was like, man, this is pretty bad. But looking back at it, that's all I had. And so I sent that to a lot of coaches, and a lot of them were like, hey, no, our team is full. We don't have any scholarships. We don't have time to train or to teach someone the game of football. But Houston, there's a tight end coach by the name of Tony Levine who saw that YouTube film. And he said, you know what? We don't have a scholarship, but I want to give you a shot. And if you're willing to come here and walk on and let me teach you the game of football, I think I can help you, get to the next level. And I was all in. And so they understood the assignment. They taught me the game. I didn't really play a lot, but it was more just a learning year to get to where I was trying to go. And yeah, the rest is history.
So, were you drafted, or were you a free agent?
I was drafted. I was the first pick
Wow.
of the sixth round in the 2010 draft, and it was just crazy, just
I would love to
unbelievable.
have heard what Mel Kiper said on that one. Uh,
Man, who knows? But I could not believe it. I was drafted into the NFL, man. God, nothing but God.
first person in the sixth round. Good gosh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
it's higher than Brady. Uh,
1 year of football, man.
wow. Wow. That's a testament to a core principle there, that
Come
the
on, man.
effectiveness of it. Wow.
Come on. And it's just, I tell the kids, like, it all starts with a vision. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kids, they don't know what it means to have vision or what that even looks like.
I agree.
Um, but like, it's the same thing as a goal. Like, hey, what goal do you have in your life? And it doesn't have to be like, hey, I want to be this when I grow up. It gives you something to work towards. Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
want to pass this test, or I want to make it to the 8th grade, or I want to try to go this month without going to the principals. Whatever goal you have for yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like, because these are the realities that we're dealing with the students. And so I try to make it relatable to them because, again, people can hear my story and say, oh, well, I don't care about football. I don't want to make it to the NFL. But there's an underlying message. It's not about making it to the NFL. It's about understanding, first, you have value, that you matter, that you're important. And two, you have to have a vision for something
Mm-hmm.
or a goal, something that you're striving towards. And then putting yourself in the right environment that can help you support that goal. But at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. It is on you.
Well, remember the verse from the Bible that I'll paraphrase here, where there's no vision, the people perish.
Perish.
You're speaking to me because I keep thinking back to that young man, that individual who I don't think has a vision, and that may be why he's trying struggling and perishing. So that's I'm gonna have a deep time of thinking when we get off this air together, of thinking about how I can help him do this. But I know a resource that I might could use. Tell us about your book that you just released recently.
Yes. So I just released my book. It is called Transition One Kid's Bank Shot to the NFL. I actually have a copy with me right here, James. And this is it right here. I'm really proud of this project. It chronicles my story. It chronicles some of the things I experienced in my childhood. And this is the back right here. I got a quote from my coach, Steve Spagnuolo, who's a four-time Super Bowl champion, who just won the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a defensive coordinator, but he was the guy who drafted me in 2010. And it talks about my story. It talks about the ups and downs, and I share my faith in some of the struggles that I went through in early in my life. And I think it's just a really good inspirational story that just keep trying, keep going, don't give up. You never know what God has for you around the corner if you keep your faith and surround yourself around the right people. And so you can find that on Amazon. We can drop the. I'll make sure I give you the link so you can drop that in there for your audience, for anybody who's interested and wants to check it out.
Well, how can our audience, maybe parents, connect more so they know more about you, but also those administrators and parent teachers and coaches that are listening? How can they connect with you so that they can maybe bring you into their school situation or their youth conference or something?
Absolutely. So you can just go to fendispeaks.org. That's my website, and you can just go down, scroll to the bottom, and we can book a meeting. I speak to schools all over the country. I do school assemblies, convocations. I talk to student athletes. I talk to educators, and I just share my story of triumph and trials, and just some of the things that I experienced in my lifehood and how I was able to overcome those adversities. And again, of course, core principles, and that was the foundation of my success. And so it is my heart and mission to inspire and challenge and motivate students and student athletes and teachers. And my goal is to reach 100,000 people by the end of the year. And so if I could be of service to add value to your schools and help change the climate and culture of your campus, I would love the opportunity to do that.
I love to hear about those coaches that were so instrumental
Oh
sometime
man.
or another, because they had a vision for what you could become before you had a vision before what you become, and that's pretty powerful in its own right. There, I love that.
Absolutely. And I think that's why they play such an instrumental role in my story, because if it wasn't for the teachers who encouraged me, if it wasn't the coaches who pushed me when I wanted to give up on myself, when I didn't think I was good enough, when I didn't see value in what I had to offer, not only as an athlete, but as a person, uh, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so that's what I tell the educators, that I know it's a tough industry. I know it can be a tough season, but those kids need you. Those athletes need you. Those people need your words, and just to keep going, because there's purpose in your occupation. And I often say, hey, just remember your why. Why do you do this? Why did you get an education in the first place? Why did you get in coaching in the first place? I just had lunch with my football coach a couple of days ago, and he said the reason he enjoys coaching so much is not because of the success stories, but having the kids come back and say, "Hey, coach, I appreciate you teaching me. I appreciate you showing me the way." They come back as a father. They come back as a husband, and a lot of the things they learned in the game, they implement into their life and their families today, and
Mm.
that's special.
I love that. I love that. Well, audience, if you want to find those links and that information, just look in the show notes. So if you're listening, just go to your favorite podcast app that you're listening on, click on the show notes, and you'll find all those links there. We have that in we'll have that there for you. If you're watching YouTube, you know the drill. Just look straight down. There's a little button that says more. You click that, and there's all the information, and it'll hyperlink it right to you. You can connect with it. Fendi, thank you. Thank you for being our guest today. Thank you for sharing your story about core principles. I've told guests this before. I think I get more out of this than anyone else does, because now I'm in this mode where all these notes that I've written here, my notes here,
Oh
people think I'm
wow.
not, that I've written here are all about relating. How can I take that core and talk to this person and share with them, and then lead them to maybe even investigate even more by connecting with you or following you. So thank you for your story, and thank you for your commitment to helping others and encouraging others, being an encourager that you are.
Thank you so much, James. It is a pleasure and an honor. I really believe that this is my life's work and my calling. And so, like I said, I just want to lead the place better than I came. And I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for the others that instilled values and encouraged me. So it's only right for me to do the same to others.
And audience, we want to thank you for sticking with us. Listen, if you've been with us over 30 minutes, you've obviously found some value in what we're sharing and what we're talking about. So please like and comment on this. But the most important thing is share, because there is someone someone you're thinking of right now that could use this message, that needs this kind of encouragement, that needs to understand this. So make sure they find this. Make sure they find this so that they can find this message as well, and it can help them. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Fendi. And we'll see everybody back real soon on another episode of the Generation Youth Podcast.
Peace.